Picture this. You've come home from a long day's work, shoved some food into your mouth hole, and have finally plopped down in front of your chosen method of gaming. What do we have on the docket? There's always a fun throwback platformer, an exciting not live service shooter, whatever fresh itch.io horror nightmare's been cooked up, or some good old-fashioned... Wait, what are you doing there? You just left work. Why are you... No, turn that off. This is your off time. You don't need to... Wait, another one? Look, in this nightmare of late-stage capitalism, you need to be taking care of yourself. Relax, de-stress. Here, play some Elden Ring or some gas stations? Seriously? What the fuck? Hi, I'm Archivist Shepard, and I hate work. I hate being a replaceable cog in some department's busted machine. I hate that I have to stake my survival on my ability to accomplish menial tasks, and I hate that my work never seems to pay enough to actually survive in this hellscape we call home. But you know what I love? Video games. I love the stories they tell, how they tell those stories, the gameplay, the challenge, and how they ultimately make me happy. Unlike work, which has made me, in no particular order, so angry that I scream into a pillow, so sad that I cried at my desk for a week straight, and so depressed that I needed to pay someone to hypnotize me into not hating myself. So imagine my surprise when, once upon a time, I tripped and fell into the simulation category on Steam and saw, work simulators. American Truck Simulator puts you behind the wheel of a big rig, delivering cargo all across these United States, pending DLC purchases. Car Mechanic Simulator drops you into a mechanic's garage, tasking you with repairing any number of automotive ailments. Gas Station Simulator has you managing a gas station back into a jewel of the American Southwest. Farming Simulator's regular releases give you a farm for you to fix up and improve over time. Or is that Stardew Valley? Factorio and other optimization games are all about finding ways to do more work more easily so you can do even more work even more easily. And yet, I enjoy these games. I've racked up over 100 hours each religiously playing Stardew Valley and Factorio, building out and optimizing the farms and factories within. I've melted into a rhythm driving the highways in my American truck. I've delivered mail throughout a sleepy lakeside town. I've worked for fun. Does that make me a hypocrite? No, it's work that is wrong. Work doesn't want me to focus on me. It wants me to focus on production, on profit, on the work. Advancement through the ranks is largely based on nepotism or overworking oneself well past any reasonable point. Goals are given to you and you are held responsible if other factors don't line up to permit their completion. Work is a place dictated and bogged down by policies, procedures, and this is how we've always done it. I hate work, but I love work sims. Why? In short, because work sims are a more perfect realization of what work can actually be. Now, for the long version. For reference, most of my work in the last decade has been administrative. Making a computer do things I want it to, coordinating people to do what my boss wants them to do, and other duties as assigned. In that work, I'm bouncing between different interfaces, different programs, different processes, all of which, you guessed it, operate differently. For any number of workers, our attention is split, constantly switching to different modes depending on what's on fire right now. We can't achieve, let alone maintain, a sense of momentum. But work sims? Everything is in one program, one layout, one self-contained setup made all the more consistent through universal art and menu design. When everything is self-contained, we can concentrate not on what program we need to adjust to, but on the work we're doing. We can concentrate on us. The other end needs some prefacing. I have met some of my best and dearest friends doing the work that I've done. From college housing to food service, I still keep in regular touch with many of them and at least send birthday cards to the ones that I don't have text chains with. But not everyone is so lucky to work alongside good people, or more prevalently, work for good people. Workplace politics, alignments, and rivalries are abundant, and I can recall such standoffs defining the work we did more than our actual work. Even good-natured chit-chat has become something I've steered against because it's cutting into the time I need to complete my tasks. Work sims, though? None of that. Coworkers don't talk to you. Customers don't talk to you. Nobody talks to you. It's just you and your work. When there's nobody else to lean on your cubicle and complain at you, no bosses calling in to tell you to stop what you're doing immediately, I need you to do this right now, you can just focus on you. You are the master of your own time and what you choose to do with it. And some work sims, usually the cutesy farming ones, will give you neighbors and townsfolk to talk to, but even then, it's at your leisure. You choose when to engage outside your work. You focus on you and your work until you want to focus on some other element. Also, there's something to be said for the art design and aesthetic of work sims. Sometimes it's the bright and colorful approach of Stardew Valley, the personalized layouts of Factorio, but at its core, it's just having the chance to make your pocket of work yours. Posters, tchotchkes, crafts, mugs, whatever it is, this space where you accomplish your tasks is yours. Personal creative liberty, whether on your truck, your farm, your factory, your store, whatever, is always going to feel and look better to you than whatever that off-white trash is that corporate approved. Making a workspace your own gives you ownership, makes you more invested in what you're doing, helps you focus on you and your work. More and more, I've found myself being thrown into a job with minimal training, constantly having to ask, hey, how do I do this? And seeing no trajectory that takes me further. No advancement, just where you were hired, just being an interchangeable cog, just knowing your place. No you, only us. Work sims, however, excel by presenting players with the tools they need to start working. Tutorials, customizable options, the whole gamut. Players learn, more or less, on the job. They're not expected to come in with an arbitrary number of years' experience or to be subject matter experts in some obscure program or certification. Work sims understand that people want to try new things, to diversify, and allows them to do exactly that. No barriers to stop them. And they're no different from the real-world workforce. Players still start at the bottom, operating the bare minimum all alone. But in work sims, 1, there's no big boss bearing down on you, and 2, there's a clear path forward and upward. More on that later. From the word go, players are their own boss and are completely self-reliant. To use Factorio as an example, players begin by mining materials by hand. Once they've done enough of that, they can construct machines to mine for them, and they can concentrate on the next task. That cycle continues throughout play. Find a thing to do it, get the resources to automate it, find the next thing to do, until your humble pickaxe can sit pretty on a wall while space shuttles launch in the background. Whether it's Factorio's more complex automation or Stardew Valley's work offsetting resources like sprinklers or greenhouses, work sims give the satisfaction of advancement without having to crush some other employee underfoot to get there. We are our own boss from the start, and when our goal is just to learn and improve, we become hungry for every new challenge down the line. During my real-life work, most of the work-based goals I set came down to make it to the end of the day. Further out than that, get to the next payday. So much of what I've done was based on reaction, on scrambling from rush to rush, or crisis to crisis, or just getting what I needed to survive. Any growth that I achieved was tangential, not based on any efforts or clear-cut goals I had set down. Any goals I achieved that higher-ups would thank me for, I didn't realize I'd achieved. Again, work sims reach over, pat me lovingly on the head, and show me what I can do to be better, short and long term. They set goals out for me and encourage me to create my own as a result. Short-term goals are the moment-to-moment goals that games set for players. Plant some crops, mine some iron, fill up some gas tanks. They might quickly be brushed aside to concentrate on the next short-term goal, but that's their greatest strength. They are small. You can measure a short-term goal, see the end result, and what you need to do to achieve it. They are achievable, one after the other. Stardew Valley's bread and butter is the short-term goal. Plant some seeds, harvest the plants, sell the plants, buy more seeds, get better, short-term goals across the board. And then the game throws you by kicking off a new season, new plans and all, still on that short-term wavelength. Whenever someone praises or laments a game for its one more turn or one more day element, that's short-term goals working their magic. That's the hook that catches players on the line of work simulators. That line, on the other hand, is the long-term goal. Larger, overarching goals that are made up of many, many short-term goals. Stardew Valley wants you to make your grandpa proud of you. Players accomplish this by helping townsfolk, growing their farm, and rebuilding the community center, all elements that comprise of many smaller short-term goals. Factorio drops you on an alien world with a singular objective: build a rocket to escape the planet. To do so, players mine, automate, explore, optimize, and expand in order to acquire what they need to construct said rocket. All shorter-term goals themselves wrapped up in even more short-term goals. When you start your work in a work sim, you are often given a long-term goal to strive for, and some short-term goals to get you started. For some, the fun part comes after fulfilling that long-term goal. What do you do now? I know I kept playing at Stardew Valley, optimizing things even further, growing my operation, and diving even further into other elements of the game. Factorio is a game that can feasibly go on forever, challenging players to build ever more efficient machines sprawling from horizon to horizon. I'd never reached that point, content with my single rocket, but the world's possibilities can blossom out from there if players want more of a challenge or different long-term goals. Work sims don't detract from the joy, the relief of fulfilling your long-term goal, but throughout the game, they've been planting seeds. What will you do afterwards? What long-term goal are you going to make? You've completed their checklist, now you can make your own. Both short and long-term, work sims line up objectives and goals that are satisfying to achieve and attainable from the start. And it's far more satisfying than simply dragging yourself to the end of the workday. We are all, probably, human. We make mistakes, we mess up, we're fallible. We're inherently driven to survive however we can in our present situation. We're curious, we get sidetracked, we like to explore. Work, as I know it, is largely unkind to most of those parts of our humanity. We are told to do things one way, to do them perfectly, and to neither deviate nor make mistakes. We are shamed for wanting enough compensation to survive in exchange for our time, labor, and skills. We are told to concentrate for so many hours of the day on singular, monotonous, draining tasks, and all without any opportunity to give our eyes, our bodies, our minds a break, lest we be chastised or written up for our fallibility. But lo, work sims smile down on us, showing a better way, perhaps the best way. Every day is a new day. Every task is a new task. If you mess something up in a work sim, or, die in the work sim, that's okay. Try again. Learn from your mistakes. There's no boss yelling at you to get it together, no coworkers making notes about your shortcomings to use at review, just you. Work sims give you the opportunity to truly improve in the face of challenge and difficulty, without the stigma and emotional toil that comes with trying to do so in a shared environment. If you feel like you royally messed up and there's no mechanical way to salvage things, load a save state. You can just try again. How many of us work just to survive? How many of us would continue working even if our basic needs were met? Work sims rarely force players to reckon with costs of rent or homeowning or the price of food to keep your avatar alive. By removing those elements from the playing field, by ensuring that our little characters have their basic needs met, players can concentrate on what matters, the work that they want to do. It's a little thing, but when you notice it, it can hit a little differently when you don't see it out in the world. Lastly, almost every video game made since the launch of the home console has a designated pause button, work sims included. You can use that. Is a particular task just not vibing with you? Pause. Are you getting frustrated that space bugs keep eating your factory no matter what you try to do? Pause. Some jagoff cut you off on the highway? Pause. You just need to step away for a minute to give yourself a break? Pause. Work sims give us the ability to act on our humanity, to break our concentration, stop what we are doing, regroup for a little while, and come back feeling refreshed. In a world and a workforce that demands you go until you are unable to go further, until you burn yourself out, until you give all of yourself to your work sims let you stop. Maybe it's for a couple minutes, a couple hours, a couple days, maybe more. Maybe it's to rethink an approach, or because things just got really frustrating. Doesn't matter. You have that freedom, whether it's to step away for a bit or step away entirely. You can stop working And that's the best part about work sims. Now, picture this. You quit your job because you hated waking up with the feeling of, might be easier to just myself rather than go into work. You've cut a day's worth of door dashing short, once again, because nobody is tipping and the machine wants you to drive 2 hours in peak Chicago construction traffic to deliver a single Apple charging cord. You go home, apply to some other jobs. It's been well over a year you've been searching. You've been applying for jobs that whole time, refined your resume, asked the right interview questions, did everything those losers on LinkedIn recommend, and still nothing. And it finally gets to you. Screw it. If I can't work in reality, then I'll just work for a while in fantasy. I'll manage this gas station into something beautiful and efficient. I'll drag this supermarket kicking and screaming out of the red. I'll get so good at driving an 18-wheeler. I'll work. Hi, I'm Archivist Shepard, and I hate work. I hate that a workplace demands years of experience only to try and pay peanuts. I hate that nepotism will get someone a job faster than experience or potential, and I hate how much it's wormed into my psyche that I need to work to produce in order to feel fulfilled. But you know what I love? Video games. I love the freedom they provide, the escapism they let me feel, the objectives, the scaling difficulty, and how they ultimately make me feel fulfilled. Unlike work and trying to find work, which has made me, more often than I'd care to admit, want to rip off my own skin, curb stomp a couch, or throttle the next person who makes the innocent decision to talk to me. So there I was, hundreds of applications and denials and nebulous "we'll get back to yous later." I was sitting in front of my computer, well and truly defeated. I was managing a gas station, or driving a cargo truck around the West Coast, or loading up somebody's laundry. And yet, I felt like I needed these games. I upgraded my gas station to level 5 in the span of a day and a half. I've had to pull myself away from the one more day mentality of Supermarket Simulator, and I am just one wayward neuron away from starting Factorio from scratch. I've worked because I felt like I needed to. Does that make me a hypocrite? No, it's the fractured system that has broken our psyches that is wrong. We live in a system in which our survival is dependent on creating, whether in production, relations, or deals. To take a moment and not be producing feels like a failing, no matter how we try to justify it. We sit with our games, enjoying the burst of serotonin we get from accomplishing a task and the ability to accomplish many small tasks afterwards. We play, reveling in the peace that they provide while trying to ignore the creeping reality, the worst part of work, that many of them hold. I hate trying to find work, but I love work sims. Why? In short, because I feel like I need something to fill this void in my life. Now, for the long version. It feels good to make things. This is one of those defining features of humanity, along with our capacity for kindness and compulsive need to blow each other up. But that's why any number of us are on this website making videos, because we want to make something regardless of its impact. It's why I got into cooking, soap making, and cross-stitching, because making something feels good. You can look at the end product and have the chance to say, "This is mine. I did this." But we can also make a difference. We can make adjustments to a setup, we can make a change, we can make a profit. I can sit myself down, toil away in my imaginary grocery store, and do a little jig at the end of my imaginary day because I came out in the black. I made that day of work successful through my decisions, my efficiency, my priorities. Work has tasks and checklists. Even as more stuff gets piled on, I always relished being able to tick something off of that list, to look at that item and know, yeah, I made that. It was a moment of victory before having to dive into the next thing. But now I was sitting in my imaginary checkout line, looking at my imaginary shelves, noticing my imaginary food item was running low and restocking it before it ran out in an imaginary rush. I did that. I was refueling a trio of cars within an inch of their requests, then sprinting off to the garage to buff out some poor traveler's scratches on their car door. I did that. I had a system for tossing folks' laundry into the washer and then the dryer to maximize the payout, even if that system was just standing around. But still, that was all me. With that, I'm emotionally torn. On the one hand, I fully recognize that it made me feel good to do these things, to feel like my decisions and work matter in that moment. But on the other hand, I also recognize that this is a lifetime of conditioning coming to a head, that one must find purpose in work, no matter what form that work takes. When all we know is production at some level, we are compelled to produce. Is it revenue for the gas station or supermarket? Is it manufactured items in my big old factory? Is it income-increasing popularity in my arcade cabinets? What am I doing? What am I making in order to define myself, to justify myself? Anyway, toxic productivity exists and seeps out well past the workplace. Despite our best intentions, unfortunately, we live in a society. My real-life work, for as far back as I can remember, has been defined by optimization. Right out of college, I moved to a new town and went to Buffalo Wild Wings with my then partner's family after we unpacked the truck. The dining experience was disheartening, and I walked in there the next week to apply for a job solely on the thought process of, I could probably do this better. Even if I could just do the job as is, rules as written, job description minimum, I will almost always spend more time trying to figure out how to make it better instead. That's the core of a lot of work sims. You could just spend the time mining your coal, iron, and copper by hand, but wouldn't it be easier to get an automated driller? You could be content selling 6 grocery staples out of your little hole in the wall, but wouldn't you rather have access to more, so that people buy more, so you make more? You could kick your feet up and just fill up the one person rolling up to the gas pump, but in this society, ease is rarely the path to success. You're going to build the driller, then the power system, then the lines and conveyor belts to connect it all. You're going to buy more product licenses, increase your available wares, expand your store, all to get your customers buying more than what was on their shopping list. You're going to open more gas pumps, then the store, then the repair shop, then the car wash, and hopefully you hire some help because otherwise you're going to be running back and forth like a fully coked out gazelle. Work sims, like in real space, are generally chunked into workdays. You start the day at whatever hour and the day ends at some other hour. Some will allow you to stay later, finishing up the odd task before shuttering or lining up in order to send off first thing the next day. It's the checkbox at the end of the day, giving you a moment's rest before you load up the next day. And then there's Gas Station Simulator. Sleep? Resting? Stopping? Nah. Idle hands are the anti-capitalist's playthings. Time just jumps from one shift to another with no need for you to ever properly stop. But it still worked. I was in it, invested, and I welcomed my checklist of customers with open arms. A step further is Arcade Paradise. On the surface, it looks like you're running a laundromat just well enough so that you can fund an arcade venture out of the back rooms. You try to play one of your hard-earned cabinets only for your watch to buzz and tell you that the wash needs to be moved to the dryer, or the dries need to be laid out for customers to pick up. It seems like you're battling the rote elements of work against the fun elements of play, but it's not that simple. Here, you can increase a game's popularity by playing it in general and accomplishing certain achievements in the games. So we're not really playing for fun. It's still work because if we do these things, even on games we don't particularly enjoy, then the cabinet becomes more popular, more people play it, it makes more money, you can afford the next cabinet, and so on and so on. The thing we want to be fun becomes work in pursuit of profit, in pursuit of expansion. It might be more profitable to just leave all the laundry on the table and play the games in the back, but even then, we rarely get to play them just to play. It's with another purpose. Work sims are excellent at providing these short-term goals I mentioned earlier, and they keep us wrapped tight around their core loops. Their foundation is the small, manageable task, repeated tens or hundreds of times in a play session, building further outward and ever higher as the checklist just keeps growing. In the absence of a paid repetition, the virtual repetition that work sims provide is comforting. We can do a task so many times in succession, get the satisfaction of watching it get checked from our list, and then do it again, and again, and again. It sounds worse than it is. When you get to concentrate on a short list of things you're responsible for, you get really good at those things. Through repetition, I got really good at making pizzas. Then database entry, program proposals, report generation and updating. When I had the chance or was required to focus, that was when I felt like my work was the best because I was the most invested in it. Like time moved more quickly for how engaged I was in the seeming monotony. But early on in most work sims, you're not going to have the chance to monotask. You're the only employee on site, so you have to do it all. Running the register, stocking the shelves, ordering restocks, organizing the storage area. If you were to do that in real life, something would fall through the cracks. Someone wouldn't get timely enough service. Something would be out of stock. But work sims fill that space with flexibility and buffers to make you truly able to accomplish everything you are trying to do. Shop-based sims like Supermarket or Retail Store Simulator operate on a store-level dynamic. Do accurate and efficient work throughout the store, your level increases. Higher levels give you access to more licenses, more equipment. However, if you give incorrect change, if items are out of stock, the store level decreases. But it's not like Yelp or Google reviews. Customers are still going to visit your store. You won't be able to move ahead in the store's capabilities, but neither will your business take a nosedive straight into the asphalt. You'll just have the chance to rise to the challenge, do your tasks better, and open up the next opportunities. I've mentioned the eventuality of running around like a maniac in Gas Station Simulator, but you don't actually have to. You can meander, walk, or just putz your way to whatever's next on your list. Someone could pull up to the gas pump and you can make them just sit there. They're not going to leave. They need gas, no matter how long it takes you to decide to fill her up. Your popularity is going to sit right there until you fill up their tank or ring up their snacks or fix their car. As long as you do it well, whenever you get to it, then you're golden. So take your time. The alarms are all manufactured. That's where they get you. Sure, you've got a never-ending list of crap that needs to get done so you can make money, so you can grow and blah, 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 but you're safe to knock out that list. You get the joy of accomplishment without the risk of major backlash. You get the satisfaction of completing the little things, of completing anything, even when you can't find the opportunity to get paid for it in reality. There is a duality in this method of filling the void. On the one hand is comfort and peace. I have been unceremoniously laid off before, and that entire experience, before, during, and after, sucks. Your employment, regardless of your performance, is entirely in the hands of someone else, maybe even someone who doesn't know your name. In work sims, though, I will never be fired from this work. I can only ever quit. The ball is always in my court. The business may live in the financial red and would reasonably have a -3 out of 5 review score from any sane human, but no one can take my job from me except me. Additionally, as I touched on before, I have the ability to stop working. I can go from supermarket to retail, try to make a better gas station, test out a new factory layout, try to increase this arcade game's popularity, drive this route, deliver this cargo, harvest these crops, switch from one thing to another, and know that when I pick any of them up again, I'll just pick up where I left off. Then there's the other side, a genuine looming sense of horror. These games can feasibly go on forever. You can always make a process more efficient, shaving seconds and resources off an item's production line. You can always improve the setup, increase the square footage, or stock a more popular item. You can always make more money because that's the easiest way to quantify success in an experience that mirrors our lives. You can always go into work one more day, just one more day. Kind of like work. Of course, you won't be making any money either, but you can only fill a void so much. As long as you don't think about it too deeply, you'll get all the best parts of work from work sims, all without the crushing dread that work provides. Maybe that's the best part about work sims. Now, picture this. You got a job again. A real job, not a gig. But you also live in late-stage capitalism, and it's really starting to hit you that most work doesn't actually mean anything. Press button, make presentation, numbers go up, big numbers let company do more of whatever it is they do. Layoffs loom on the horizon, even as record profits are mentioned in the same line. The same people who don't know your name have a hard-on for AI because maybe the human touch is overrated after all. Work doesn't matter. It's become a game board too vast for someone to comprehend, often because we're too busy just trying to survive. And it hits you. I wish my work meant something. I wish my contributions felt like they moved the needle, even a fraction of a percentage of an inch towards something better. I wish it didn't feel like I was just a cog to be worn down and replaced. And so, once again, you turn to games. They are stories apart from reality and mirrors that reflect our reality. When work demands we put our heads down and blindly produce, blindly consume, ask no questions, games provide a new perspective. Your job at a border crossing booth can sow the seeds of change. Your video editing can shake a corrupt government. Your contracts can save lives. Your work can mean something. Hi, I'm Archivist Shepard, and I hate work. I hate what it means in this economic model we live in, that even working a position where someone is doing good is dependent on the perpetuation of the worst parts of capitalism. I hate that it's so inherently dehumanizing that truly doing the bare minimum for workers would revolutionize company loyalty and production in the most radically positive way, and yet management on all levels refuse to do so. I hate how it feels like work truly doesn't matter. But you know what I love? Video games. I love the nuance they present, the mechanics tied to stories, the impact of your efforts. Unlike work, which has made me feel like none of it actually matters, that I'd make just as much of a difference melting into my bed as I would plunking around in company spreadsheets and databases. So, here I am. Years put into a toxic career, years of job applications after leaving it, finally in a new job, a new sector, and still no more fulfilled. So I'd scrutinize someone's passport against my processes, zip through a sinking city to complete a delivery, or just administer a funeral. I know I need these games. I've worked outside of work because I wanted to feel like work matters. Does that make me a hypocrite? No. It's the system tied to our survival that does not serve our humanity that is wrong. We are a part of a system in which, even as we are capable of excess, it must be wasted. Where those who have could literally save the world, but they would rather continue to hoard their wealth. Where we are mired with meetings and bureaucracy instead of action and improvement, where we maintain the status quo instead of building something better. I hate work. As an illusion, as a prerogative, as a concept. And yet, I love work sims. Why? In short, because sometimes we need to be reminded of the impact work can have. Now, for the long version. On the surface, these kinds of work sims are all about digging deeper. Sure, this whole setup functions like you think it would, but you can learn more even from the confines of your workplace. Why are you being told to do this kind of work? What brought you to this point? What can we learn about the powers that be they departmental or governmental? The work is ultimately bureaucratic, but maybe there's a mystery hidden under the surface between the layers of bureaucracy. What can you do in your working capacity to uncover it, solve it, understand it? How much can you uncover at once without drawing suspicion? You do need the job, after all. Not for Broadcast sprinkles in comprehension of the world in the gameplay itself. As a news editor, it's your job to broadcast the nightly news segments, but between censoring swears and anything else the government doesn't want the public to hear, you learn about the political goings-on and peel away the layers through your work. Perhaps your awareness will inform your decisions in the broadcast booth. Similarly, Orwell's world building is baked into the web pages and social media posts you're scraping through. Reading them closely will give you more insight into the world, and perhaps into the government looming over the recent terrorist bombing. Cloudpunk throws you into the start of a shift as a megalopolis courier driver. You can keep your head down and do your job, but if you listen to your passengers, your dispatcher, the people you run into on the streets, you learn more and more about this city crumbling into the sea, for better and for worse. Work sims like these are essentially conspiracy theorist simulators. Something is off, something feels off, and even better than reality, there can be a payout for you feeling and acting on those bad vibes. You've uncovered the mystery of why this government sucks and how to fix it. Congratulations! Here's your Medal of Freedom or whatever. We find fulfillment in understanding, even if it's understanding the objectively nefarious nonsense these game-based employers operate on. Even with heavy plot elements and subject matter, we still appreciate getting to understand more. It's the inverse of so many employers who just want you to do the work for however long they want you to before you do it all over again the next day. Don't ask questions, don't wonder why, just do the work. But here, it's the ultimate fantasy of learning about the thing with the express purpose of taking it down from the inside. You may still have to balance the work being required of you with your desire to learn and understand, but it's possible, it's encouraged, and it's inviting you in. Some work sims blow right past the mystery, pushing a more immediate incentive. Do your job right, make money, and save a thing that matters to you. Sometimes it's as simple as you and your family need food, heat, and medicine, and you're the one with the job. Other times, your child is at the center of a vast bureaucratic labyrinth, and the only way to her is to upgrade your gear, get really good at your job, and get promoted. There's an underlying reason, past profit, past personal survival. Someone to save, an innocent who shouldn't be trapped in this societal machine yet, or a family waiting at home. The tension and gameplay loop comes from that work-life balance. Yes, you want to do the work to make the money to provide for yourself or your family, but you also want to understand what's going on, maybe break it from the inside. In Papers, Please, players are entrusted with the safety of Glorious Arstotzka as a border crossing inspector. Check the incoming immigrants and visitors against your procedures and don't let your conscience get in the way. Survival requires efficiency and accuracy for daily payment, used to heat your home, feed your family, and get medicine if they become sick. If you start scrutinizing documents too much or let someone in with bad documents regardless of their sob story, you risk financial penalties, putting you and your family at risk. Short term. At the same time, it also forces you to balance the machinations of the Revolutionary Order of the Ezek Star, a group that is attempting to initiate change from within Arstotzka. You need to bend the rules for them, but perhaps that will make for a better Arstotzka tomorrow. Long term. Similarly, Mind Scanners forces players to balance their day-to-day needs with the long-term goal of reuniting with their kidnapped daughter. As a titular Mind Scanner, it's your job to help people throughout the city with their emotional and mental problems with strange but effective devices. Intentionality and precision take more time, but you won't be able to take on as many patients in a day. Diagnoses and treatments can be done rapidly, resulting in more take-home money. Of course, by speeding through, you're doing the mental equivalent of spinning a corkscrew through someone's frontal lobe. As long as you get paid, right? Maybe your daughter will understand if you ever find her. It's a balancing act between your daily survival, your gear keeping up with demand, your own moral compass, and if you could ever look your daughter in the eye after what you did. How much of your work is a front? How much of it are you doing just to stay on the inside or to survive and fund your next step? Or is it not even a front? You can just choose to do your work, day in, day out. That's a choice. That's a story unto itself. These work sims fuel an escapism, a feeling like we have a choice. We don't have to just work. We can use our position to undermine a harmful system. These stories can be a fraught balancing act or a tragic resignation as the front falls away. Our work becomes a story instead of a slog. These work sims often put a greater emphasis past the singular you. You're not just doing this to expand a storefront or a business, you're doing this for someone else. Your family needs you, your village needs you, your country needs you, hell, sometimes you need you. There are needs that need meeting. Many people in the education sector, myself included, were taught about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In essence, a series of needs make up a triangle structure when stacked one on top of each other in a particular order. Like, only by having our physiological needs met, like access to food, water, and shelter, can we then concern ourselves with meeting our safety needs, like employment, health, and property, and so on up the triangle. But Maslow's Western model was inspired by the Blackfoot or Siksika Nation and their holistic medicine wheel model. Instead of a triangle viewed from the side, Think of it more like a teepee-style tent viewed from above. Different domains on each section of the circle, physical, emotional, cognitive, and spiritual, all hold the structure up equally, no one more important than the next. The idea is that a person actually needs all of them together, not in sequence, in order for them to feel a sense of belonging and actualization. Through work, those needs are met. Most work sims, like the ones from earlier, function more on the cognitive side, the sense of organization and routine. The other ends are largely taken care of, or are not a factor. But these work sims, these more fraught positions and situations, force players to grapple with the physical needs. If you don't do your job well, you don't get paid, you can't afford food or safety. If physical support crumbles, our family unit takes a hit, our sense of belonging is shaken, and our emotional domain suffers. The entire teepee comes apart. The work and our performance now means that much more because we have more to worry about. And that's without the cognitive domain, balancing our identity with the dehumanizing work expected of us, or the spiritual domain that calls for us to decide what this work is going to mean for us and for our families. Each domain is connected, and for any of them to suffer compromises the entire structure. In Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, players control a sleeper android on the run. They must balance their ship's resources like rations and fuel with their own short-term sustenance, all while trying to stay safe from a looming threat. Physical needs. They travel throughout the Starward Belt with a growing crew, a ragtag bunch of outcasts brought together in their shared discordance. Emotional needs. Their work, on its best days, deals in helping communities throughout the star system, fighting for what the sleeper believes in and yearns for. Cognitive needs. And all of it is in service to the sleeper coming into their own, deciding who they truly are, who they want to be, and what they want to do. Spiritual needs. All important, moment to moment, and all tied to one another. On a more stationary frame, players in Grimshire control a refugee from the fallen capital city. Things are dire. Villages and outposts outside of the capital are gradually going dark. In exchange for tax exemption and free housing, you're put in charge of the island's farmland to grow and harvest food. It's got a lot of parallels to Stardew Valley, but where it diverges is in consequence. If you don't preserve enough food for the island's spectrum of citizens or fail at an important quest, characters on the island will permanently die. It's less about industry and customization, more about efficiency, resource management, and collective survival. But you're part of that collective too, both in your own needs and your community role. In order to make a better farm to better serve the community, you must use the resources that could go towards the village. Building materials for a village mushroom hut could create a slate of drying racks and smokehouses. Instead of preserving and storing food, you can instead eat to do a bit more work in the day. Survival and preparation in the physical domain are propped up by the cognitive domain's ability to create an effective system of growing, harvesting, and preserving, all of which is in service to the emotional domain of wanting the villagers to survive, which itself feeds into the spiritual domain that encompasses community and collectivism, why we're doing the work to begin with. Between both games, the choices are made moment to moment, tied into the longer experience. In order to meet these needs, even in a simulation front, we are given a choice. We can define what our work truly means to us by what we do with it. Is it a means of survival, a source of income, and nothing more? Is it a wedge you can use to keep the door open and usher forth a new, better dynamic? How will you meet your needs? At the end of this list of work sims, and amidst my own ongoing vocational crises, I find myself struck by the ones that lean into my philosophy differently. Yes, work doesn't matter. But rather than dwell on that, rather than stew in our system's harmful self-perpetuation, some of these games challenge that notion, not with contradiction, but with acceptance. No, the work doesn't matter. What are we going to do about it? A Mortician's Tale, not to be confused with The Mortuary Assistant, good God, is a simple, slice-of-life work sim following a funeral worker on the process of embalming funerary tasks, but also It's a story about the looming corporatization of death in a capitalist system. As ownership changes hands, the worker's passion becomes less about dignity for the deceased and comfort for the living, and instead about profit margins and bundle packages. But ultimately, she knows that the work others prioritize doesn't matter. She restructures her work around the thing that does matter, aligning her passion with her beliefs. We can feel encouraged to make a difference in our work, to find how you want to make a difference, even in some small way, even for some small group of people. Liberated from corporate structure, quotas, and profit margins, you can simply be left to do good work at that which you are good at for people who need it. Your work can mean something because of your recognition that the work doesn't matter. Your passion versus their priorities. Wanderstop is a touch more nebulous. Scattered throughout the narrative of burnout and identity, there are a variety of tasks and to-dos, both in the central tea shop and in the surrounding clearing. Alta, the player character, can sprint from task to task, meander wherever their whims take them, or just plop down on the many benches and chairs in the area. A customer can order tea, and you can futz around picking fresh tea leaves for them. You can blow them off for a while and go cultivate a garden. You can weed the entire clearing, rearrange your potted plants and artwork, take a picture, make yourself some tea, sit on a bench and vibe, all before you ever get to the customer. The work means something because, in a peaceful way, the work doesn't matter. There's no pressing need, no countdowns, no threat of destitution if the tea isn't perfect or timely or done at all. You can try again. You can go work on something else. You can focus on what matters to you. Liberated from those needs being tied to work, you can just do. You can just be. Alta, in the wake of being vocationally shattered, is given the chance to do some necessary introspection and self-healing to pick up the pieces of her identity, to liberate herself from what work has meant in the past. In a convoluted way, the work we do matters the most when work doesn't matter. Human connection, self-care, making things. These aren't always profitable ventures, but that is why they mean as much as they do to us. We've always been a people defined not by our production and profits, but by our contributions and creations, by what we can do for our neighbors, by our craft and our skill, by the joy of knowing what a difference we make in others' lives and the purpose it gives us in our own lives. At the end of it, maybe that's the best part of work sims. So, why? Why would I want to spend my precious time not on the clock doing anything resembling working? Work sims are video games, and video games can be designed to be fun, engaging, and often both. Work sims, by that logic, try to be, and often are, fun. They draw us in with possibility and with escape. They bring us back to their core loops with trails of breadcrumbs, with the allure of advancement, and by allowing us to streamline our focus. They take every element that the American workplace says it is and actually delivers on the promise. Why would I choose to try and fill the job-shaped hole in my heart with fake jobs? People are driven to create, and work sims provide that outlet in a production-based format. They give us things to do, a checklist of items that are full of manageable tasks that can be done at our pace. They are simple, repetitive tasks reminiscent of working on a line or in a more focused environment. They just become second nature for how often we've done them. And they provide a level of certainty that isn't guaranteed in real work. That of security, of being the one in charge of your employment, regardless of what's looming just out of frame. Why would I want to roleplay working in an objectively frightening world and somehow find comfort in it? We yearn for purpose. Work sims can be silly little job games where you're running around a desert gas station without ever needing to sleep, but they can also give us that burst of purpose. They give us the power to shape a world through our abilities. They allow us to make a difference. They mean something. Even if they've never meant to, they remind us that work can matter. That work is not just a means of capitalist survival, but a path of purpose. Work, in its most ideal state, is a knot that ties our communities together. That is why we play them, why we use them, why we love them. Because they're simultaneously distraction, coping mechanism, and reminder of what work truly means, what it can be. They are an escape from what is and a blueprint for what can be. And if we're being honest with ourselves, they're a lot of fun. Work can be fun. Maybe it just needs a bit of restructuring. Maybe a lot of restructuring. But we'll circle back to that another time.